Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager 24, episode 15. We are coming up on the end of the season, and while at the end of the last episode I was committed to the idea of, hey, I didn't get a live race in last time because I didn't have time. Time is still of the essence. I was commissioned to do some work, and track season started, and life happens. I've been busy. The idea that I'm having, at least at the moment, is I'm seeing how close to the end of the season we are, and I'm committed to reaching the end of the season as soon as possible. So I might not get a live race in until we start next season. Possibly. We'll see how things go. In the meantime, we enter our last ATR period of the year. As much as I want to go all in on one or two component upgrades to wrap up the season, I'm finding that, well, for one, we've done well, we've progressed, and we've got a competitive, albeit back of grid, car. Two, I kind of want to save some for the first and only time for some of our research projects, just to set up next season a little bit better, a little bit stronger. And so I'm not going to go all in. I'm going to divide it up into maybe 4 components as we wrap up the year. I mean, it's only 28th October. We've got 2 months to get projects done, so that there is a window to spend these hours. First up, though, is a new underfloor, and this will be a here and now. We'll take the 5% hit on it, and as it's almost the end of the season, it's going to be a little bit before it's done. We're going to bring it all the way down to bare minimum to get the most we can out of it, though realistically, sensitivity, drag reduction, right, all of that. Well, you get this. Realistically, drag reduction is still just adding 5.5%, right? That doesn't change as we add weight. It just makes car heavier or lighter. So not necessarily making any actual long-term impact. See, it's awareness of these things that you don't necessarily notice generally unless you are looking closely at details and going, oh, right. Okay, well, we're not getting much in terms of top speed, but we're getting a lot of cornering capability out of this underfloor upgrade, hence the reason for doing it. Gotta be kidding me. So just after we finish getting everybody on long-term contracts, turns out there was one hidden under the surface that wasn't a long-term contract, who's only been with us for a couple of months since signing an initial deal, which was, 2 years? And now Ferrari is trying to take Joyce Jacobson away from us. It's not necessarily a big deal. It is an affiliate driver. It doesn't put her in a race seat of ours. It just gives us proper tracking of her development as she goes along the way and keeps her in-house, but it's really not a big deal. What they are coming to do, though, I mean, the breakout multiplier's got to be pretty decent. That's what they are offering. She wants an improved contract. I mean, I suppose I want to keep her around. She is decent. She is absolutely the best reserve we have right now. We're not going to overpay for this. We're down to $3.5 million right now, but we are about to turn the month. Though with contracts changing, I don't think we're going to necessarily be making money this time. Oh, right. Okay. The contracts are all slated to start next year. So for now, we still do have, just about anyway, a $1.1 million. We have a $1 million positive balance. Cost cap remaining. Ooh, 3%. We have spent 96%. Holy crap! I did not realize how close we were. We're gonna hit the cost cap here real soon. And here is our warning about breaking the cost cap. They wait till now to notify us, as we're under 4 million away. We still have November and December to get through. I don't think I can afford to do any more upgrades in terms of the cost cap. Included in year 1 as a new team, your initial development is costlier than it is for other teams. Continuing development is ongoing costs. Initial comes with some pretty expensive fees, and so your first year you're kind of limited. If we exceed the cost cap, we will not only receive a fine, but we will not able to spend any more on car development. This will reduce the board's confidence and could stop us from staying competitive. No more upgrades coming. Unless you're Red Bull and you have catering fees. Bullshit. Driver development update. Winter, +1 to braking and control and reactions. While Otokoven, +2 to braking, now an 86, +1 to adaptability. Third out of 4 races that we've had an issue with Otokoven. Her front wing and rear wing have been destroyed in a sprint race. Big problem though. I only have 2 factory slots for manufacturing parts. Both of them were occupied. One of them finished up on Friday of the race weekend. But over the race weekend, you can't assign new projects. You get locked into the race weekend, and it's only until after you come out of the race weekend where you can then go and start your next project. My next project was going to be a rear wing. We are completely out of rear wings. But as we are heading into a totally different session, Park Ferme is no longer a regular thing. Like, we can still get the front wing. We're down to 2 there as well. The rear wing, yeah, nothing more. But we can install an old one, and it's gonna have to do. Shockingly, Lando Norris has won. Somebody other than Verstappen has claimed victory. Verstappen had a bad race, only qualified 3rd, dropped 2 positions, finished 5th. Even his teammate finished ahead of him and easily took fastest lap, but it's Perez. He couldn't get the win despite the dominant car. Squeezing into the points is Albon for probably the 3rd or 4th time out of the last handful of races. Hulkenberg gets 12th, Tsunoda gets 14th, Otokoven gets 16th, and Winter 17th. That's a pretty good race for us. But do we beat any teams? We beat Kick Sauber, so it's another 10th place finish. Good result for the team. Of course, we are taking that bit of a hit because Bottas took 12th a couple races ago. So if we can get one race where we can secure 12th place, we should move back ahead of them as we had the edge before. That being the difference maker. So 12th place finish would be enough to jump ahead back to 10th place. I'd much rather be in 10th than 11th. It kind of sucks that we're at 11th with the consistency of finishing 15th, 16th, 17th, like every race. Well, each car is going to end up taking a hit here towards the end of the season. We've already got a rear wing bump down for Otokoven. Now we have a front wing bump down following that race for Winter, and I'm not going to manufacture new ones. It's just we've got a cost cap situation, and we are not going to waste any money. The day before we went into the race weekend was the day that Joyce Jacobson was approached. I tried to approach her 24 hours later after seeing the cost cap situation, going, okay, I don't want to spend on anything else. I'll go try to negotiate with her. It shouldn't be too costly, but you can't negotiate over the weekend. So I literally come out of the weekend. I've progressed not at all, and she's already agreed to terms with Ferrari. So we are going to be right back down to 0 affiliates with Jacobson out. We'll look to replace her, but of course, when the time comes, if I need somebody to take a seat, because one of our primary drivers is poached, right now she stands as the candidate to go first because she's the best overall current rated driver. There's plenty in the pool, and there's development in all, and we're going to certainly look to others to bring them in. But with limitations, I'm not going to do that right now. We have a cost cap situation. There's no reason to spend money other than to retain somebody who we can no longer retain. I literally got 1 day to try to do something about it, which was a single click of the button. And that one click of the button apparently was one click too many. Verstappen, just a 1 race break. He's back on top. No fastest lap, though. It's Piastri who picks that up. Tsunoda into the points is the surprise fixture for today, and Winter gets 17th, but here's a very worrying side. You can see we're already ahead of Kick Sauber, at least. We're ahead of 1 Alpine. We're ahead of 2 Alpines. So we get 9th on the day, but Otokoven finishes last. but finishes, not a DNF. Leclerc has jumped signs for third in the drivers, and they are just a few points behind Lando Norris and a billion behind Verstappen. Likewise, it's a couple hundred points separating Red Bull and Ferrari. Kept a little closer because, one of their drivers doesn't do that particular task terribly well. And we remain in 11th. One of 3 teams without points. And at this point with, I got a new underfloor coming, but I'm only going to manufacture one just so it becomes our baseline for next year's underfloor. 400K, the last expense that I'm going to commit to, and that brings us down from our 3.9 to 3.5. We're about to have the turn of the month for December. I think we're going to be okay, but maybe not. I don't know. We were Winter in 84. We were above. Ooh, hello. More money coming in. But that doesn't help. This is about expenses. So it's good for setting us up for not having a negative balance to start the year. That part's nice. Now 8.7 million, but it's all about spending. And we went from 5.2 to 3.9, I believe. Right? So we spent 1.3. We just spent 0.4, which brought us down to 3.5. But if we're going to do something similar, 1.3-ish, we'll seemingly just make it to next season without exceeding the cost cap. We do not need those penalties entering next year. As much as we need to continue developing the car, no penalties. Please, oh please. Because, we haven't lined the pockets of the FIA to stop them from punishing us. There's not going to be some silly little slap on the wrist that means nothing. They'll punish us accordingly. We don't have a reputation. Parts in reserve is definitely thinning out here to end this season, and like I said, at this point there's only 2 races to go. I'm not too concerned about how we perform those 2 races. I think we're pretty locked into our evaluation for the year and our job being secure and, focusing on next year and not breaking the cost cap budget. But with 6 weeks left, we don't need much for the engagement to get there. Guided tours, definitely that nearly puts us over the top. I do want to make sure that we have a little bit of a cushion. Don't do anything about driver mentality. Let's go with, post-race debrief. That leaves us just short. One more will do it. One more will get us over the top. And what the staff activity, school events? Sure. And that should do it. That's 1,000 over. That's good. We also have a mandatory one. Advert cameo, and we're going to bring in nearly 5 million. That's going to help us get into that safety zone of the one that I was worried about, which was running out of money, not running out of cost cap. Wasn't prepared for that one. The penultimate race of the season finishes with another Verstappen win, but he loses out on the extra point to Perez, who actually finishes second for a change with Piastri and Norris behind him. Tsunoda alternating between the Williams and the RB on who sneaks into the points. Otherwise, it's always the same 9 to 10 drivers. Albon misses out by 1 position this time, and we have missed out by a bit. Still no sign. Odekoven 18th, Venter is 20th, and we do not beat a team on the penultimate race. We are last this time out. In the drivers, by the way, we are still locked in a okay place. Alpine just the 2 points. Haas have never scored, but Hülkenberg's been 11th many times. We know that Bottas has been 12th, so Gasly has either been 11th or 12th, probably 11th. Odekoven's best finish was 13th, which is better than Magnussen or Sargent. Venter is not last, at least, but we, despite 18th and 21st, are still that last place team and only one last chance to do it. We will have a new underfloor for 1 car for Odekoven for the last race. It'll be done the day after this Grand Prix took place, so in time for our final race of the season. Well, Vinter did finish that last race. I just had to confirm that we did finish the race. Vinter did have damage to multiple components, explaining why she was so far down and at the back of the grid. Before we look at the cost cap limit, we're into December. I want to see just how bad the damage is on that one. We are driver development update. Vinter, +1 to smoothness, adaptability, +1 to defending, her lowest attribute, almost to an 80 now. +1 to accuracy, really good development. Not great for Otokoven over this period, as only one attribute improved, but it was a +3. Her braking is an 80. Okay, the cost cap limit. We're still short, 2.3 million. So I was right in the prediction that we would have about 2 million left to go. And this should finalize on the 31st of December, which means we don't have another monthly set. We basically have 2 million that we could spend in theory. I'm not going to risk it though. As much as I want to get two more research projects done, we're playing with fire if we go down to the wire. There's only the one more race, so we have components to make it happen, I think. Yes, we do. I've already changed parts. That is a powertrain issue. It's ERS going downhill pretty quickly. You want to take the one that's problematic or the one that's worn down? I guess we'll take the one that's worn down for that final race. And there you go. At least no damage. We clearly still have the slowest car, but like I said, we are so much closer. And well, both cars are down on components. Did I get the underfloor on? I'm pretty sure I did. I did get the underfloor on, so that'll help. You know, it's only one race. I think I'm going to take the rear wing, and I'm going to swap this. Oops, Otokoven gets the better car for one race. But you can see also where we finish is still 19th or 21st. It's still back of the grid. Now, we're still well short of what grid average is on Otokoven's car with all the upgrades available on it. We're still 2 kilometers an hour off. We're still a little bit off on acceleration, but not drastically. We're still 14% off on DRS. We are still slightly under a tenth off on cornering. Weren't we like 2.5 tenths off of grid average before? Less than a tenth off on medium speed, less than a tenth off on high speed, 10% off on dirty air tolerance, 14 on tire preservation, 24 on engine cooling. That's our biggest weakness comparative to the rest of the field. We got a long ways to go yet, but all our stuff, it was all in the like 20%. We were way off. We've really bridged that gap. We're going to lose 5%. We've done some research, but kind of across the board, we're going to just about lose that 5%. But our start point for next season is going to be much closer to the grid average than our start point was for season number 1. So I don't know how competitive we'll be at the very start of the season, but I know we'll be in a better place. Guaranteed better place than we were this last year. I know that the field will have made improvements over the course of this season, and the 5% reduction is not going to be massive. So maybe they'll be in a better place too. But I mean, let's be real. I went from 30 to 40% behind on everything to, a quarter of a G behind on all the cornering stuff. I mean, just massive gap to it's a minor gap right now. And they're all taking that 5% reduction too, and I doubt that there's that much research done through the field. And so while the gap may stretch a little bit more again, it's not going to stretch to where it was. It's just going to maybe stretch out a little further. And good news is it looks like we're going to be okay on the cost cap. We still have that one race left to finish up here in just a few days, and then we're going to get into the final month and wrap up the final month of the year. But our finish point, for those who are new to the game, every year you have a reset on attributes. It decreases by some unknown percentage under the hood, but it's actually probably known. It's probably not that hard to calculate. Anyway, I would imagine we're going to lose probably 7 points. And considering we started at, I don't know, maybe a 60 for all of our pit crew attributes, to start next season at a 68 or even a 70 is going to have our pit crew in a lot better, more stable state We're finishing this year with just an 8.42% chance of mistake, 8.5%, when it was at like 20 or 30 at the start of the season. But it's going to reset down a bit, but it's going to reset to a much higher state than where it was. Essentially, we're going to lose maybe half of the points that we gained over the course of this season when we go to start next season. But the rest of that carries through. Now, the car building I haven't developed as much, but it's at a 59, and it was in the 40s, so it too is going to drop. But because it's a percentage, it's going to drop by fewer points. So we'll make some progress there as well. Meanwhile, the estimated pit stop time was at like 2.8 at the start of the season. It's down to a 2.56 at the finish of this one. That 2 will take a healthy jump, but I'm guessing only to about maybe a 2.7. So again, we're going to be starting next season in a better state than we were this season, and slowly but surely our pit crew should rise up. Likewise, at the same time, our staff member, not great, but long-term deal, growing, developing, and will be more effective in fatigue recovery, into development rates, into how much training we can get done, and how much use there is, and how much less we lose over the course of the season. So actually, that's one thing that I haven't considered as of yet. Your pit crew manager, they do have a modifier that impacts how much of that pit crew attribute you're going to lose. So maybe it's going to be higher. Maybe it's not going to be 7 or 8 points. Maybe it's going to be 10 points because our pit crew manager is still weak and developing. Even if that's the case, if we're down to a 66 for our jacks, it started the year at about a 60, so it's still going to be improvement, and steadily, season by season, we will move up because I'm very efficient. Micromanaging this does make your pit crew better, even when your staff is weak. Verstappen started 9th place, still managed to get the fastest lap and win the race as we wrap up the season. I did have hopes of getting a live race in, but at the beginning of the episode, as I feared, it did come true. There's a lot of end of season kind of wrap things up, and 4 races is 4 races. That's a bit to cover. When it's 2 or 3 races, it's much easier to go live race in. We will definitely do more live racing next season as we get more established on the grid, especially as we start to compete for points. I don't want to just take those through simulation. I'd like to earn those points firsthand, and so we'll slow that pace down and start doing that live racing at a point where we are competing for points. Right now, we're competing for not last. It's not as exciting. Anyway, Verstappen takes the win. Norris, Leclerc are the podium. Tsunoda takes 4th place in the season finale. Albon gets a couple points, and Hülkenberg and Haas score a point on the final race of this season. That's a lot of cars not featuring in the points that normally would. Were there a lot of DNFs? Is there a chance that we, too, finished 12th? Oedekoven, we gave her the best components for this final race and the new underfloor. Is that enough? Did we have enough pace? We've been competing not far behind Albon and Hülkenberg of late. And if, there's a Ferrari and a McLaren and a Mercedes that have DNF'd, fingers crossed, maybe. I mean, Aston Martin was 6th and 7th. 13 and 9 spots up from where they started the race. Perez had a bad race. He started on pole. And we've done it on the final race of the season. Oedekoven has finished 12th. However, that matches Bottas. 13th then becomes a important factor, and Bottas finished behind us in 13th in this race. Bottas may now hold the tiebreaker that we held a little while back. I mean, how long? 6 races ago? 7 races ago or so? We had the tiebreaker, and we were ahead of Bottas, but he did just finish 13th. He might have done enough to hang on to it, even though we did enough to take it. Ricciardo also just missing the points in 11th there. RB, strong finish this season for them. We beat Sargent. That's only 1 Williams. That's only 1 Haas. That's 1 Mercedes. Hamilton 16th and 2 laps down, probably with damage. Vinter was 17th. We do beat both Alpines. We do beat both Kick-Saubers, so we do get 9th on the day, and no DNFs in the field. But you gotta imagine that if Piastri, Sainz, and Hamilton are all at the back of the grid, in all likelihood there was a big collision, possibly between the three of them, possibly a lap 1 type incident that put them well off the pace, having to have an extra pit stop, replace wings, drive with a damaged car, and limp home to a back of the grid type finish. For one thing, Piastri and Sainz, you can see their exact drop positionally from where they were to where they finished. Hamilton might have just carried less damage. Hamilton, for all we know, could have gotten to the back of Sainz and Piastri and caused the wreck himself. We have no idea. I'm not going to speculate on that. But in the drivers, Okovin's ahead of Bottas. That would be we are ahead of Kick-Sauber. Verstappen, we already knew, wins the championship. Norris keeps 2nd. Leclerc affirms his 3rd that he only recently took from Sainz. Piastri, Perez, Alonso, Hamilton, Russell, and Stroll are your top 10. Okoven overtakes Bottas. We overtake Bottas. That should be a 10th. And it is last day of the season. Haas surprises, takes 1 point, and we surprise and overtake Kick-Sauber. Haas was already 9th. No matter. I think they're just going to feel good to have at least finished the season with a point. And we got our best finish of 12th place all season in the final race. A sign of the progress we've been making. Drivers getting better, cars getting better. We're getting more and more competitive with time. As for the fastest pit stop, we did not feature in the top 10 today, but we had featured some times recently, not too many. We finished with 57 points. Decent showing, but still only 10th. A lot of work to do. I think by next season we should be ahead of Kick-Sauber and probably competitive with, the Aston Martin or Williams in pit stops, because my initial goal at the beginning of the season was to cut that mistake chance down, and we did that drastically. I should be able to rebound that in like January, February, whatever losses we're going to take, pretty quickly. And so we should be able to, by the beginning, the first, second, or third race weekend of the season, we should be able to get our mistake chance back down around that 8 or 9% range, which then allows us to focus most of the year on getting faster. And even with a couple months being focused more on reduction of chance of mistakes, we'll still be able to make some progress on reducing pit stop times. And like I said a little bit ago, I think it will only reset so far. And so we're going to start a lot faster than we did last season. We'll make up a little bit of progress early on, but then we'll be able to spend most of the season working on reducing that. We should be a lot faster with our pit stops next year than we were this year. Like I said, I don't think we're going to move up significantly. I don't think we're going to get up around Alpine or anything like that, but maybe, just maybe, we make up enough ground to close in on RB by the end of the season. Looking at what we saw, because it does show what the fastest pit stop was over the course of the year. 10 times Red Bull was the fastest pit stop this season. 2.198, so 2.2 seconds was the fastest pit stop. McLaren, 2.194, but they were only fastest 7 times. Ferrari, 2.228, 2.326, 2.276 for Mercedes, 2.397, 2.389, 2.320, 2.403, and our fastest all season was a 2.503. So that already suggests that actually we are way off the pace compared to the others right now, and making up enough ground to get to the 2.3s that we're seeing here. Well, okay, there's some 2.4s. I can see that that's probably an unusual place for them to be in. Yeah, make it a 2.4 when we're at a 2.5, 1/10. I think we can make that up over the course of the season. I mean, like I said, I think where we started versus where we finished, we gained about a quarter of a second, but it's going to reset down a bit. We'll be behind a bit, but our reset's not going to be as bad as their reset, except for the pit crew manager part. So yeah, it might not be great, but I think we can make up a 10th. Yeah, over the course of the season, fairly confident in that. All right, folks. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. We're going to get our off season. We're going to fly through that next time. I think we've made it okay on the finances here. It looks like we're in the clear. We've got a positive balance. And speaking of, what do we have? Well, we just made an extra $780,000. I put the 18th in for Odekoven going, hey, we're putting all the components there. I think she can handle it, right? We got 2 drivers at an 84. We've got 11.7 million. We've got 2 million left in the cost cap. Just a couple weeks to go. I think all in all, we should be set. We should be okay entering the next season. We've got a pretty neutral mentality, and the board should be okay. Yeah, board confidence is high. The race performance has been very good of late. Just 2 times that they have been disappointed. 2 11th place finishes, but otherwise we have had 10th. Even 10th was only once. 9th or better through most of the races of late. I think that's going to put us in a much better state for next season. And even though we failed our objective, it was 10th. It was not 11th. And yeah, we'll see what the impact of that is. But I don't think it's going to hurt the board confidence too severely. I'm surprised, though, that it's not showing up as, like a minor, like the white satisfied or something along those lines. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.